to the Power Up, that time when we come together to equip, educate, empower, and elevate you so that we can all make a difference in our community and truly impact the world. I have the honor of being your host, Tami Hill Thomas. Excited to join you for another opportunity to share news, perspective, and purpose. So let's jump right into it. First, we have two amazing opportunities to celebrate interesting instances happening in the world. First of all, this is the 33rd anniversary of the American with Disabilities Act. Did you know that the American Disabilities Act is truly intricate and important because it mimicked the Civil Rights Act? Remember, the Civil Rights Act is because all of us, our ancestors, our parents, grandparents came together, used their voices to march and to vote, which caused Congress at the time to institute that act. So then opening doors for other acts to follow. The Americans with Disabilities Act is meant to be an equal opportunity law for people who are disabled. Now, you would think that would just be a given, wouldn't you? Well, the law is what governs the land. And if you remember, the law is what also has the money connected to it. So when services and upgrades and those things are needed to help those who might be disabled, the ADA.gov is the site where you can find all information on the Americans with Disabilities Act. This act was instituted to give rights around employment, government services, all aspects of public life. So, yes, not just helping with those handicap ramps and those designated parking spaces that our individuals, our neighbors, our parents, even ourselves who struggle with disabilities can use the assistance for. Also help to modify restrooms, help to make sure that those handrails were started to be required everywhere we went. Did you notice how now individuals who use wheelchairs have better access to common areas? Family, as we age, you never know what you might experience. We're grateful that 33 years ago, our voices were heard. Congress passed this act to help those, to make sure there's more room and more upgrade and more advocacy for folks who might be living with disabilities. I want to help bring this home just a little bit because a lot of times we might think of disabled individuals as those that we visibly see that are different than what we call normal. Mm. Do you know that ADA also covers those who live with anxiety? There are different forms of mental health, behavioral health, psychological health that's covered as part of the American with Disabilities Act. That's why seeing your healthcare professional is so important. And making sure your voice is elevated. Remember, you are the best advocate you could ever have. PTSD is also one of those that is covered under this act. When our brothers, sisters, mom, dads, even daughters and sons return from military service, when they've experienced the trauma, they have protections in place, rights, if you will, to be able to be serviced just like everyone else. Can you imagine having to live with a disability where you feel like you're not even seen or heard? So we wanted to pause here on the Power Up to accentuate the 33rd anniversary of this act and to remind you why your vote is so important. Family, you don't want to wait till you have the need. You want to start now to build in what might be necessary for your legacy. What about your grandchildren, your children's children, and yep, your children's children's children? So look for more resources at ada.gov if you'd like to elevate your understanding about this act, about modifications to the law, even about how you can get involved where you are. We also want to take a moment to acknowledge, my goodness, the amazing news shared by the Center for Disease Control. Here at the Power Up, we don't just share national information, we celebrate our global brothers and sisters. The CDC released information that says Uganda's Ebola outbreak has ended. Family, they finally have relief in Uganda after years and years of the struggle of this disease. Ebola, okay, is one of those that it took a minute to help understand the outbreak, the source, and how to control it. And the CDC, a viable government entity, has shared that Uganda put a swift end to Ebola's outbreak by ramping up key controls. They put measures in place that help them with surveillance, with tracking and tracing the infection, and then preventing and controlling it. Again, we celebrate with our brothers and sisters that the last case was detected recently, and there hasn't been another outbreak identified in more than a month. That's over 40 something days that the CDC is sharing. This is important information for you because diseases, oftentimes like Ebola, are airborne. And if you'll remember, in the United States, there were those who traveled from other countries where Ebola was identified here. Okay, maybe you're not dealing with Ebola. Maybe you're dealing with the West Nile virus from those mosquitoes that elevate during the summer years, during the summer seasons. You can get information on that from the CDC. And let us not forget how we just survived a pandemic. COVID-19 was a global impact of an airborne virus. Thank goodness resources, surveillance controls, healthcare measures were put in place to help respond and contain so that we can all now be better moving forward. So if you are a Ugandan, we honestly stand with you here, the team of the Power Up, and say, well done. We're so excited to hear that there are no more losses of our brothers and sisters. And the last case identified in Uganda was a stillborn baby. So it doesn't just impact those that have a voice for themselves, also those who are voiceless. Again, why knowing how you can make a difference is so important. So, as we share the global news of Uganda's ability to close and celebrate no more outbreaks of Ebola, we also celebrate the national news of the 33 years that the Americans with Disabilities Act has helped to be a voice for those who are disabled. Understand, not less fortunate, just have a documented disability. And if you're honest with yourself, we're all dealing with something. Come on now. We here at the Power Up will always give voice, always acknowledge, and take a moment to offer good news, good celebration, good tips where it's necessary. Feel free to go to ada.gov to learn more about that act and cdc.gov. And remember, as we've shared on many other shows, the Center for Disease Control has many more resources than just what's in the global news. CDC is a pioneer in the nation, in the United States, on how you can address many issues you deal with, diseases that cross the spectrum, because you might not see it. Remember, it's airborne, but it doesn't mean it doesn't affect you. Like fluenza, the flu doesn't take but one person to cough around you. Common colds and how you can help protect yourself. The CDC has many resources. So, globally, again, we stand across the water with our brothers, our sisters, our babies, our ancestors, those who are finally feeling some relief from this scary disease that seems to show itself on a regular basis, Ebola, and say, thank goodness, we'll take it. As we move forward with the power up, please be mindful that it's not just about where you are in your living room, in your car, wherever you might be listening to this broadcast, but it's about the fact that we're all human beings, one human race, how we can affect each other to be better. So share this information with the youngins around you so that they who may have never heard the word Ebola, as they grow older, understand where they can get resources. Might even say, I remember my grandma telling me when Ebola was finally obliterated, or there was a pause and a great reprieve when we found relief in the land, in the country of Uganda, because those individuals, those citizens matter just as much as wherever you are in your town. As we move forward in the power up, we're excited to step and embark into community advocacy. Remember how you have a voice where you are and how you make a difference. We're going to bring a very special guest interview today with a community advocate and leader in her own right, how she takes this information and her own advocacy and life lessons and changes the world. So don't leave us. There's more information to come. Stay tuned. There's more after this.
Hi, guys. It's Tina Wynn, your host of the podcast, You See Me. I want you guys to stay encouraged, continue to come out and see me, and most importantly, see yourselves. Remember, the only way that you can truly enjoy life is to see other people so that you can enjoy the beauty of seeing yourself. Come join me Saturdays at 4 on the We Empowered Network. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Power Up. We are excited to always have an opportunity to hear from voices that make a difference across the world. Today is no exception. We bring to you someone who has not just lived a powerful life, but uses every breath she has on national platforms and locally to advocate for others. Latrice Lights is joining us today. She is the executive director of the Lights Foundation. She will share more information about that and the advocacies that she takes on for healthcare. Also, a wonderful known history fact about Miss Lights. She ran for lieutenant governor in the state of Maryland recently. Was certainly an honor to see your name on the ballot, Latrice. Welcome to the Power Up.
Hi, good morning or good afternoon, Tammy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We apologize if there's any technical difficulties and any background noise, but we're going to move right on with this interview and this powerful lady. Latrice, we've heard here at the show about how you've elevated your voice through your personal experience. Please share with the world.
Yes, so I actually was a type 1 diabetic. I was diagnosed at the age of 1, so I was a juvenile. I grew my entire life with this illness. And you were speaking on Americans with Disability Act, which I did not find out about that until 2014, but I'll get to it. So I went through my entire life as a type 1 diabetic, and at about 40 years old, I started noticing a lot of changes with my body, and trying to embrace those changes became very challenging to me. Um, in 2020, at the age of 43, So I was 42 years into being a diabetic. I was 43 years old. I was introduced by my endocrinologist, which is a doctor that specializes in diabetes as well as thyroid. So he was telling me about transplants for diabetes, which would be a pancreas transplant. So my husband and I began to do a little more research into it, and we made it to the list. They signed me up, and by the end, going towards the end of 2020, during the height of the pandemic, I was able to receive a working pancreas. And now, almost 3 years into recovery, I'm feeling great. My advocacy came about because going through that process and learning so much about it, it made me want to really engage other people who didn't know, because I didn't know. It was a learning process for me, and I wanted to help other people who didn't know as well by bringing that information and putting it on the front line.
Wow. And Shining Lights Foundation, birthed from your personal story. What can you tell us about the work that that has done?
So Shining Lights Inc. came about because my husband and I were talking, and I was like, babe, I really need to get this information out. So we actually specialize in the overall health of diabetes care, all diabetics, all types of diabetes, and organ donation and transplantation. We discuss from being a juvenile to going into type 1, also type 2, gestational, which is when you're pregnant with diabetes, all the way up to post. And what I mean by post diabetic is pretty much myself. You're no longer a diabetic. And we can go into detail on each and every one of those categories. So Shining Lights Inc. covers all of that information. And that's how it came about, just through my own personal experience and my husband and I having the information and talking to each other about it and wanting to get the information out.
Powerful, powerful. So you turned your experience into a cause and now have impacted so many lives. What I would, though, is ask, what in the world made you then go into politics? Lieutenant governor?
Yes, so I attend First Baptist Church of Highland Park, located in Landover, Maryland, on Sheriff Road. And it just so happened that this one particular Sunday, my pastor, Henry P. Davis III, with his wonderful self, allowed me to come up and speak a little bit about my experience and hadn't having gone through the transplant. I was in my first year of recovery at that time, and my running mate was visiting the church, Ashwani Jane, and we kept in touch afterwards. And towards the end, so this was like November when I met him. By December, he asked me if I would be his running mate, and I gladly obliged because I've always wanted to help, and I had prayed and asked God, how can I go about helping outside of my church community? I wanted to actually get out into the community. And I asked his permission and also asked how could I go about doing it. And I don't know, he just put everything in place. And Ashwani asked by the end of the year. I said yes. And by January, he had announced me as his running mate, and we were off and running.
Amazing. Tell me, though, how has that changed your life and your advocacy?
Oh, tremendously. So now we didn't, unfortunately, we didn't win that election, but it did help me locally. I've made a lot of local connections. One of the other companies that we're working with is called Prevention Link. So we're actually, Shining Lights Inc. is actually a nonprofit. We're working with Prevention Link, who is signed with Prince George's County Health Department. So technically, we're under Prince George's County Health Department, and we all work together in regards to diabetes. But I don't just stop at diabetes. I'm also organ donation as well as organ transplantation. So my three all work together. And again, it's if you want the information, because a lot of people are like, no, I don't want to go through with that. I'd rather just stay on insulin, injecting myself, insulin pumps. There are various different ways you can go about taking your insulin and caring for your diabetes. Some people don't take insulin. Some people take a pill or half a pill, or some people just control it by diet and exercise. It all depends on what you're comfortable with, one, and what better helps your health. So that's something that you and your doctor would discuss, which is going to be the best way for you to control good blood sugars and remain a healthy life. Because again, you don't have to go through the steps that I went through. That's just my personal, but I root for it all the way. I feel like living with it for that long, that was going to be the best steps for me to continue life because I was having such a hard time with it around that time.
Man, and you are certainly a warrior, a Wonder Woman, phenomenal, exceptional example for those who are
Mm,
in the struggle but might feel like there's no hope. So do
mm,
me the favor, if you will, and speak to those individuals. You are a strong community advocate. I've witnessed you on many stages and platforms with the mic in your hand, and then immediately afterwards hugging up folks and encouraging, even crying with them. I've witnessed your heart in politics. Help folks who feel stuck or feel like there's no way out. What is your advice to individuals who might just be in the struggle?
So if you're feeling like there's no way out, first thing I say is stop and pray. I tell everyone, if you're feeling like you just can't take anymore, stop and pray first. Second, you do want to take the right steps. So you want to be surrounded by positive people, people that can help uplift you, keep your spirits on high. If you don't have anyone like that in your surroundings, try a local church. Reach out to facilities for it can be a hospital, it can be urgent care, whatever you need to do to help get you to a positive place in your life. We don't want anybody feeling down or depressed. Times right now are so hard for everyone. There's so much danger going on out there that we want people to be more uplifted than falling into that state of depression. So those are some of the first steps I would go about. Next, I do want to talk about the ADA again, American with Disabilities Act. I said I found out about it in 2014, and this was through a job that I was working at that time. And I didn't know, as being a diabetic, that you actually fall under that category as being a disabled person. I had went all of those years of working prior to and didn't know about this. And the way it worked at that time for me was it would help me if I wasn't feeling good and I woke up that morning like I can't go in. I'm just not feeling good or I can't get it together due to the diabetes. I was able to call out, and as long as I had a doctor's note to cover, it would cover me for however many days I needed to be off. So that act was put into place, just like Tammy said, to kind of help protect you, your job, things of that sort. So it's a tad bit different from the Family Medical Leave Act. It helps, the ADA helps the individual themselves with that position. But again, like Tammy said, go to their website. Please check that out. I do encourage everybody to check that out because we are all battling with our own different types of disabilities. Um, and then going back into um, helping yourself, make sure you're getting rest. Rest is so important. It allows the body to rejuvenate itself. It helps those organs to replenish themselves, the blood cells, everything that works inside of us that helps us to get up and go. Make sure you're resting. Rest, pray, drink a lot of water. Make sure you're hydrating your body because those organs, again, they need that water to help flush the body out, get rid of all the impurities and things of that sort. So just make sure that you're taking care of you. Try some of those steps, but please go to your doctors. Doctors, dentists, those things are very important. Those people are very important. Your doctors and your dentists. Make sure you're seeing them on a regular basis. That's everything. The sinuses, eyes, ears, all of that stuff's connected. The throat specialist, women, we need to get our breast exams once a year or however often they're telling you to come back. Get your feet checked. The whole nine, from head to toe, rooter to the tutor, we need to be getting checked.
I love it. Again, the best advocate you'll find anywhere. You covered just about everything you possibly could and left us with hope. Latrice, I certainly thank you. But before you go, you touched on the fact that you're an advocate for transplants. we can't let you leave our show without helping individuals really understand the impact of being a donor.
Being a donor is so important because so many organs are needed, from heart to lungs to pancreas to kidneys. The kidney list is so long at this point. They're about 5 to 7 years out just because kidneys are needed. From the time you're born, your kidneys slowly begin to vanish if you don't take care of them. That's why keeping the body flushed out is so important. Livers are needed. All organs are needed. All organs are important. So yes, I do ask that you go to, which I'm an ambassador for. They're called UNOS, United Network for Organ Sharing. And they're unos.org. So unos.org. Please go read, take a look. They'll also link you. That site will link you to the site where you can sign up in your own state to become a donor. Again, organ donation is so very important because it helps the person in need to continue life. And I mean, without your help, then we're out of luck. So we're asking to please become donors. Don't ever feel like if I donate and something happens, they're not going to save my life. That's not the case. The paramedics will, they'll do what they're supposed to do. So don't be afraid in that manner. This is for, you know, when you're completely gone. In regards to kidneys, you actually can be a living donor to transplant kidneys. So we're born with two kidneys, and in most cases for a kidney transplant, the other person usually only needs one kidney. So you're just giving them a kidney that your body has another kidney to run off of. So kidneys are always two. And yeah, you can be a living donor for kidney transplant. And remember, that's the longest list right now for organs. So even though I didn't need a kidney, I only needed a pancreas. I do advocate for all organs. All organs are needed. But yes, go to unos.org for more information on becoming a donor for a transplant. You can also check me out at www.shininglightsinc, lights is LYTES, shininglightsinc.org for more information on my background and becoming on board as an ambassador for me as well. My husband and I are doing this together, and I do wear this baby right here, which when I was growing up, I didn't wear it, and the reason why is because I didn't want people all in my business. I didn't want people judging me. I grew up in the 80s, so the drug uh, epidemic was really, really large, and I felt like people were going to be like, that little girl does drugs. So I had a hard time dealing with it, and becoming an adult, I became more aware of, yes, these are very important. So where let people know. Mine on the inside says that I'm a pancreas recipient, and yeah, become an organ donor and help save lives. Give back to your community, reach out to your community, be out and about in your community. Let's stop this violence. Let's do that.
Love it. I love it. Family, the Latrice Lights. Please feel free to contact her, shininglightsinc.org. Make sure that you consider becoming an organ donor, especially when you aren't using them anymore. You can save, as Latrice said, multiple lives. unos.org is another resource. Thank you for sharing that. And for your continued advocacy and heart for people. Family, we're going to continue on with more information as we move into the health front. We're grateful that this amazing running mate for Lieutenant Governor joined us today, but there's more after this, so stay tuned.
Good Good morning. Marshall Weeks here with you on Financial Friday. Don't buy into others' opinions. Wise counsel is one thing, lack of faith and incorrect money mindset is another. People will say houses are so expensive now, yet homes are still being built, people are still being approved for loans, people are still buying, still moving. If you have great money habits and keep the faith in and out of season, doing all the things consistently, as a result, you're able in these times to get what you want, whether it be house, car, vacation, renovation, or what have you, because God said He takes care of all of our needs. So go with God and go get what you want. Do what He told you to do. This is your walk with God. So who cares what everyone is saying? Like God is limited by inflation. What? Don't buy into others' point of view stemming from what they can do in their own strength. The believer focuses on what God can do. You've been empowered because you should prosper.
Welcome back to the Power Up. What a powerful show thus far, all meant to equip, educate, empower, and elevate each of us to be the best us. We're going to move now into the health front. If you'll join me today, we're actually going to respond to a viewer question. We are always grateful when viewers send us questions that ask about many different issues in life or ask for perspectives, mostly information. We're going to respond to one of the emails received where it says, Tammy, you share great information, but I'm gaining and should be losing. I'm struggling with headaches, and now I'm swelling in different areas. I'm doing all I can, but can you tell me, are there foods that I should just eat differently than all of the medications I'm on? Thank you so much for your question. How powerful is that? First of all, it takes a lot to acknowledge that it's more that you have the power to do and change. Yes, take those prescription medications if the doctors are saying you need them, because that means you're deficient in an area and those medications are meant to help you. However, remember that a lot of medicines are not cures, they are for maintenance. And many diseases and diagnoses we receive are reversible. They are not death sentences. I love this question because this individual realized there's power in what they consume. What should I be eating? Is the point of that email. So let's talk about some healthy foods that you should make sure you put in your diet every day if possible, but definitely regularly. You know, many of you are going to say, yeah, I've heard all this before, but there's a difference in hearing it and applying it. And knowledge is power. And sometimes we just need to be reminded because we age and forget, or we get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life, dropping the kids and need fast food. There are things you can do in your control. So you still live healthy and happy. Let's get right to it. That good old fashioned number one. Can you guys guess what it is? You gotta drink water. Your body is over 60% water. You have to stay hydrated. Family is too important that you make sure that everything that you do makes you better. As our guest just emphasized, your organs are important. You need them while you're here. But can you imagine how you can help a life afterwards with the same organ because you cared for it? You must make sure that you drink enough water to stay hydrated every day. If you're thirsty, your organs are already feeling deficient. Speak to your medical professional about how much you should. The average is said to drink 8 to 12 cups daily. However, if you think about how much of that big gulp or that 20-ounce soda, are you drinking that much in water? Is that what your cup looks like? Come on, family. You want to make sure that what you're doing is giving your body nutrients. All right. What should you eat? Yep. Number two, those vegetables. There's no way to get around it. The earth has given you what you need. However, we have become people who are meat and potatoes focused. So our body stores the meat and potatoes, which means that the potatoes turn into sugar. That bread, that rice, y'all know the carbs, turns into the very sugar that you're trying to cut down on with the candy and everything else. So you want to take a global perspective of what you consume every day. My personal trainer always makes me live by a journal. Whenever I have a health struggle, he says, "What have you been eating? Write down what you've eaten for the entire week, and then let's talk." Because what you take in is ultimately what you store and burn. Dark green vegetables are packed with nutrients that your body needs to help heal itself. Whole grains are very important. Those nuts, yeah. If you can do some almonds on the way, that's your amazing plus to the fats, the good fats that your body needs. Of course, anything that looks like a bean is also a good thing. Those beans and lentils. Consider if you're not a bean eater, okay, come on, chili. There's some beans in there. You can use your lean turkey meat. Consider those diets. And for folks who aren't meat eaters, go ahead and put some tofu in there. We're not living in limits here. You have the power to be healthy. Berries are another strong source of antioxidants. I applaud my husband who regularly will pop berries when he used to do Skittles. He switched. He loves driving and popping candy. Instead, he's popping fruit and helped his diabetes be totally reversed. Family, you do have the power. Consider strawberries, consider those amazing blueberries, and how not just snacking on them, but consider those smoothies. They can have all of that in it, and you're just drinking it on the go. Fish is another important food to consider putting in your eating habits. How often do you eat salmon, which is very high in the protein that you need? Consider how often you eat the hamburger on Monday, the ribs on Tuesday, the steak on Wednesday. You've had nothing but red meat that has to take time to process through your system. Fish, however, has some of the strongest nutrients fresh from the water, from the ocean, and protein that can give you a much better source than just those meats. And you're not losing anything by adding that big old ounce of salmon in the middle of your meal. Consider putting it on the grill with those burgers and them chicken wings. Come on, somebody. Expand your mind, expand your life, and live out loud. With your berries, with your fruits, with looking at how you can colorify your plate. Squashes and those yellow and orange type of vegetables. And how often do you add things to your water? Lemons and citrus on a daily basis help, here we go, Miss Lights, flush out your liver. For those who take prescription medication, it's a proven fact that the more water you take and adding lemon to it can help impurities in your liver be released. Your liver is one of the key organs that you need healthy because it processes everything that then goes to different parts of your body. And adding it to your water instead of eating a lemon can certainly help you. Whether you take those vitamin C vitamins or your multivitamins, yes, infusing your water can make a difference. I saw someone the other day that just had strawberries floating in their water. Why not? It's still going in your body. Why not be better? Family, I love this question because it emphasizes the power and knowledge that consumption makes a difference in your health care. They say an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. I often share the story of a girlfriend who was in agony and sat in the emergency room, waiting room, for 14 hours before she was even seen, and had to sit back there for more time before she finally left with a prescription to go get filled to help her. So, still, all of that time. And what we found is, had she just added a little bit different in her diet on a regular basis, it would have helped replenish her brain, pre-finish all of her, as Miss Light said, how your veins function, how every part of your body moves, how your joints don't swell as much. Ooh, come on, I'm trying to help somebody out there. Instead of having to deal with that agony and fight to reverse it, consider how you can make small changes now. The water consumption, adding those important vegetables, especially those dark leafy ones. Come on, collard greens. Whole grains, yes. Your beans and lentils. Adding that fish fresh from the ocean can help your entire digestion. Allow your stomach a chance to relax from how hard it's breaking down with the acid. Popping those berries instead of candy, and even considering colorifying your plate. Remember, back in the day, we used to live by the how what a plate should look like, with a portion of protein, a portion of this, a portion of that. If you'll notice, those plates have changed. Now they want you to have half a plate of vegetables and a smaller amount of meat and an even smaller amount of what might be your grains or your rice, those type of things that your body will process. Did you ever consider why, when you go to a restaurant, they offer you salad and water first? Did you ever consider how that helps your body before it gets all the heavy stuff to push through the nutrients your body needs, so that you're prepared to sit back and enjoy that steak? Also, how about the fact that you don't have to do 20 ounces at one time? Come on with that steak and eggs for breakfast 2 days later. Allow your body an opportunity to really digest. Because I don't know about you, but a stomach ache is not fun. That backache hurts. And when you keep plowing into your stomach, you find aching in a whole lot of other places too. You wonder why your knees are swollen, trying to figure out what that headache came from. Family, knowledge is power. Thank you to our viewer for that phenomenal question. You have the power to help live well, live strong, live a great quality of life. And then, if you are a donor like me, leave whatever you are not using in this earthly vessel to bless someone else, so that they can live that great quality of life and keep making a difference. You never know how a piece of you can bless others. Family, we're excited to continue as we move forward. What a powerful show thus far. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned for our wrap up. There's more after this.
What's up, family? It's your girl, Terry Y. Hicks of the amazing Fab Five, and I am here to tell you to tune into the Empowered Morning Show Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the WIN Network.
Welcome, family. What a great segment we've had today. We opened with celebrating the fact that the American with Disabilities Act, individuals who marched and took on to Capitol Hill in DC, the opportunity to say the disabled need a voice and laws to protect them. And 33 years later, they're still making a difference. Please feel free to go to ada.gov to get the information and figure out how you can help your neighbors, your community, your state, your country, the world. Also, we're celebrated with our brothers and sisters across the water in Uganda, for the relief they've been able to feel as the Ebola outbreak has finally ended. Wow. Sadly, millions later who have lost lives, we can stand and say, well done to those healthcare professionals and government officials who took a stand and said, our people matter. We've got to put an eye on this and make sure that we can do what needs to be done to put an end to this disease. At least stand as ambassadors in the fight. So, to our Ugandians, well done. And we honor you on this show and all who have lost their lives in the process of helping you get to this place. If you want to learn more about that, please feel free going to the Center for Disease Control, cdc.gov. Remember, the CDC has many resourceful, many ways to connect, many ways to be an ambassador, many ways you can get information on everything that's a disease, but including global. We thank you so much, CDC, for continuing to advocate. But family, take this information, share it with those around you, and continue to lift your prayers for our brothers and sisters who deal with fights in their land that maybe you don't see every day. We then want to thank our special guest, Miss Latrice Lights, who joined us to share her story, her advocacy, her plight for others who need a voice as an amazing advocate for transplants, for diabetes awareness, and in a political spectrum in her race for lieutenant governor. You can find out more about Latrice Lights and how you can connect to other resources by going to shininglightsinc.org. A powerful young lady who's making a difference where she is did not take the fact that she was born with these deficiencies and just decided to put her head down and live a woe is me life. Oh no, she is powered up and changing the world. And in our health front, we reminded you how important it is that you have the power to eat your life. Yeah, keep living strong by drinking that water and making sure that you put healthy foods into your body. Might not see a change overnight, but you didn't gain that weight overnight. Come on, somebody. Invest into yourself so that you can be the best you. Remember this, whatever age you are now, you want to live and have a great quality of life for at least 40, 50 more years. As much as you can relies on what you do right now. We want to wrap up our show by sharing another piece of information that's happened recently in the United States, in the African American community, in the medical community. We acknowledge that the family of Henrietta Lacks, who is known as sharing her, let me correct myself, whose cells were stolen and used to help find other healthcare prevention techniques. In other words, the helo cells that remained at Johns Hopkins Hospital for years. The family have finally received compensation. The reason this is important is she did not get authorization for that medical institution to use her cells. In fact, no one knew that they were using them for that cause. While we're grateful that the scientists continue to use that woman's cells to help with other outbreaks and help even with COVID-19, years later, after she has gone, her cells are still being used to help pioneer medical weight practices and protocols and even brand new techniques. Still, it's not okay to steal. Today, we stand with Miss Lack's family. Her grandson stood acknowledging his grandmother on what would be her 103rd birthday on August 1st to tell the world compensation has been received and our family feels like justice was rewarded. We thank John Hopkins for Hospital for owning their default and for making it right. Family, we're all going to make mistakes in life. We all are going to fall, make poor decisions. Just know we're doing wrong and still do it. We're human. But do you stand and own it? What do you do to help make things better because you finally, maturely have decided, I'm not going to run anymore. I'm not going to apologize and keep going back because I can't change that. What I can do is use all of my power right now to make this right. We hope that during the wrap up, you remember a few things that were shared today, but also leave elevated. That one of the amazing things about Miss Henrietta Lack is that she didn't even know the blessing she was going to be to millions. And yet, we're still elevating her name. You never know what people are going to say about you when you leave the room or for generations to come. But how about use where you are right now to make a difference? Have you considered writing that book, submitting that article to a magazine? Have you considered podcasts, even going live on social media? What are you doing to not stay in the mental negativity of the struggle, but acknowledge first it's a struggle. It doesn't feel good, could downright suck actually, but the power is that I can determine what's next. Remember, it's not the situation, it's how you handle the situation that makes you the better person. You're hearing from someone who's dealt with many labels for diagnosis. And I say regularly, I'm not the face of a disease. I am the face of victory. But I will advocate for those diseases. I will make sure that folks have heard about it and understand it exists. And then, whether they care or not, are educated. What are you doing where you are? After the pandemic, we laid to rest many of our loved ones, neighbors, co-workers, family members, worshipers. We laid a lot of folks to rest, over the millions around the world. That's why it was called a pandemic. But you're still here. On this wrap up, we want to remind you that you're not just here by accident. Everything God does is intentional and on purpose. You're designed to be great right where you are. It's not about the family dynamics, the lack of financial income. It's not about all of the stuff that you can see that's negative. Because as a coach, I'm going to challenge you. After you write that negative list of everything that's wrong, write 10 things that are going right. Because my grandmother used to call that counting your blessings, naming them one by one. I guarantee that it will remind you that as bad as your problem is, there's someone else whose problems are much worse. There are babies fighting cancer in hospitals. Babies straight out the womb. Many didn't ask. I mean, come on, man. There are folks out there that are struggling. There are homeless on the street. Many of them has done all they can, and circumstance put them there, not choice. And yet, you're still here. Leave today with the power that once you make a decision to change, to be different, to contribute, you then can do an action to follow that decision, contribute. And we're excited to witness all that you're going to do to change the world. We thank our viewer for submitting that question and all of the viewers who continue to support the Power Up as we move forward, continuing to advocate globally, as we continue to advocate civically, as we continue to be the voice of all that's going on across this planet, even this universe. Then you take the information and do what with it? We want to empower you to continue to talk to the kids, talk to those who are young around you, because one day they'll be grandparents and they'll be sharing, I remember when, all because you took time to have a conversation. You took time to educate somebody. You made a difference. We thank, as always, all of the first responders and medical professionals around the globe who stand on the front line, who stand for those who need you in a great way. After you've gone through school and put yourself in harm's way every day and then go home to your own family, we want to thank you. This different when everybody else is running out of a fire and the firefighters are running into it. Everyone else is running away from an emergency. Those officers are running to protect and shield. Everybody's not a bad cop. We thank those doctors and nurses and those who work in medical facilities that share and touch our family members we don't get to touch because they're in isolation, maybe in intensive care, maybe in those hospice or homes. We thank you for the heart you're using, for those caregivers that show how much love you have for mom and dad, for the baby girl, for those living with special needs. We want to close this show sharing gratitude. We also express an heartfelt appreciation for all those who have sacrificed your lives and served our country. The men and women far and near who, when activated, leave their families to go across the water or stand in the front lines just so that we could have the freedom to disagree. You ever think about that? Not the freedoms to do what people want us to do, but to be unique and enjoy our authenticity. Thank you to all the veterans who have served and to all of our active duty officials. All of those who are in any administrative capacity to help the military on a regular basis. We know it's selfless work, and we take this moment to share gratitude. Family, all right, Power Up is here. We're going to continue to share so many different trends and information. We look forward to more interviews with each of the shows coming up, where we bring political officials, we bring professionals, entrepreneurs, those who have expertise in many different areas, so that you leave edified, so that you leave equipped and educated, that once you get the information, you can figure out how you want to make a difference. And most importantly, we stand with you 1,000%. Remember, if it's hard, it's temporary. Don't make a permanent decision in a temporary situation. Allow tomorrow to bring fresh perspective. It's okay to hold that email because you're mad and send it later. It's okay to call back in a minute and allow yourself not to react, but to respond. Because you want to show the best of you, not what you look like in a moment of frustration and anger. Because you're human, you're going to feel it. But we stand with you and the amazingness that makes you you. Family, thank you for joining us today. The Power Up team is here to serve and appreciate you as always. We can't wait to see you next time. We look forward to you joining us. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care, and keep making a difference.